The golden evening light spilled through the grand windows of Bella Vista, the city's most exclusive restaurant, casting a warm glow over polished silverware and crystal glasses. At his usual corner table sat Jonathan Hayes, a 35-year-old titan of industry, the CEO of Hayes Industries, a man whose name commanded respect in boardrooms but felt hollow in his own heart. Every Tuesday, he dined alone, ordering the same lavish meal, seared scallops, truffle-infused risotto, and a glass of aged Bordeaux. The food was perfection, but it couldn't fill the emptiness that lingered like a shadow. His life was a gallery of achievements, a penthouse adorned with priceless art, a schedule packed with high-stakes deals, yet it lacked the laughter and warmth of connection. Surrounded by the soft murmurs of couples and families, Jonathan scrolled through business reports on his phone, chasing productivity to silence the ache of solitude. He was a man who had built an empire with his sharp mind and relentless drive, but personal relationships had always slipped through his fingers, sacrificed to late nights and early mornings at the office. Tonight, like so many others, he picked at his gourmet meal, the clink of his fork against the plate a lonely rhythm in the bustling restaurant. As he prepared to leave, a faint whisper cut through the ambient hum, so soft he nearly missed it. "Excuse me, sir," came the words, delicate yet carrying a polished courtesy that made him pause. He looked up from his phone, his eyes meeting two small figures standing beside his table. They were identical twins, perhaps 4 years old, dressed in matching white dresses with lace trim that had once been pristine but now bore the subtle marks of careful mending. Their blonde hair was neatly braided, and despite their worn clothes, they held themselves with a quiet dignity that struck Jonathan like a thunderbolt. "May we please have your leftovers?" one of the girls asked, her voice steady but soft, laced with a formality that spoke of lessons in manners despite hardship. Her sister stood close, their hands brushing as if drawing strength from each other. Jonathan's world froze. He looked into their eyes and saw not desperation or entitlement, but a rare blend of courage and vulnerability that pierced the walls he'd built around his heart. These children were hungry, yet they asked with pride, not begging but seeking permission with the grace of those who knew the weight of their request. They faced a world that could crush adults, yet they stood together, their bond a silent vow of unity. "Of course you may," Jonathan said, his voice catching as he gestured to the barely touched plates before him. "Please, sit down. There's plenty here." The twins exchanged a glance, their wide eyes flickering with surprise. They had expected a quick yes or no, not an invitation to join him. "We don't want to bother you, sir," the second girl said, her tone earnest. "We just thought maybe you were done eating." Jonathan's chest tightened, a wave of emotion he hadn't felt in years washing over him. "You're not bothering me at all," he said, standing to pull out chairs for them. "I'm Jonathan. What are your names?" The first girl, her braids swaying slightly, answered, "I'm Emma, and this is my sister Ella." Ella nodded, adding, "We're twins, and we're 4. We always stay together." Her words carried a fierce conviction, as if their togetherness was their greatest treasure. They climbed onto the chairs, their movements careful, and began to eat with a precision that spoke of children who understood the value of every bite. Jonathan watched, his heart stirring as he asked gentle questions. He learned their mother waited outside, too proud to enter but desperate enough to let her daughters seek help. "Mommy says we must always be polite and never take more than we need," Emma explained, savoring a small bite of risotto. "She works hard, but sometimes there's not enough money for food after we pay for our room," Ella added, her tone matter-of-fact, as if hunger were just another part of their day. The words landed like stones in Jonathan's heart. This wasn't a family seeking handouts but one fighting to preserve dignity amid hardship. He imagined their mother, alone outside, her pride warring with her love for her daughters. "Would you girls like me to meet your mother?" he asked carefully. "I'd like to talk with her, if that's okay." The twins shared a silent look, a wordless conversation only they could understand, then nodded in unison. Jonathan paid the bill, leaving a generous tip, and followed the girls outside, where the cool evening air carried the faint scent of jasmine from Bella Vista's garden. There stood Sarah Mitchell, a woman in her late 20s, her beauty dimmed by exhaustion and worry. Her eyes widened as she saw Jonathan with her daughters. "I'm so sorry they bothered you," she said, her cheeks flushing. "I told them to ask politely for leftovers, but I never meant for them to disturb your meal." Jonathan shook his head, a warmth spreading through him. "Sarah, your daughters didn't bother me. They amazed me. In my world of business, I meet countless people, but rarely do I see the courage and grace Emma and Ella showed tonight." They sat together inside, the girls sharing Jonathan's meal as Sarah shared their story. Her husband had died in a construction accident 2 years ago, leaving her with medical bills and no safety net. She worked 2 part-time jobs as a house cleaner, but irregular hours and low pay made stability a distant dream. A recent illness had forced her to miss work, pushing them to the edge. "I've never asked for help before tonight," Sarah admitted, her voice trembling. "But watching my girls go to bed hungry was more than I could bear." Jonathan felt a spark ignite within him, a decision forming before he could second-guess it. "Sarah, I have a proposal that could help us all," he said. He explained that his sprawling estate included an empty guest cottage, and he needed someone trustworthy to manage his household. The role would come with housing, a generous salary, and flexible hours so Sarah could be there for her daughters. "I don't want charity," Sarah said, her pride flaring. "This isn't charity," Jonathan replied. "I travel often and need someone reliable to oversee my home. You'd be doing me a real service." Sarah hesitated, searching his eyes, then nodded, a flicker of hope breaking through her weariness. 6 months later, the guest cottage was a vibrant home, filled with the twins' laughter and Sarah's quiet strength. Sarah had become indispensable, not just as a household manager but as a presence who brought life to Jonathan's sterile world. Emma and Ella, with their boundless energy, had become the daughters he never knew he needed. They filled his evenings with stories, his weekends with adventures, chasing butterflies, building forts, even creating silly skits for a YouTube channel called MidnightTales, where the twins narrated whimsical bedtime stories that gained a small but loyal following. Jonathan found himself laughing more, his heart no longer a fortress but a home. The girls taught him that true wealth wasn't in bank accounts or art collections but in the joy of connection, the warmth of caring for others. Sarah, too, found healing. Her daughter's bravery that night had opened a door not just to survival but to a partnership with a man whose loneliness mirrored her own struggles. She no longer felt like she was fighting alone. One evening, as they sat in the garden, watching Emma and Ella chase fireflies with mason jars, Sarah turned to Jonathan. "I need to thank you again for what you've done for us," she said. Jonathan smiled, his eyes on the twins as they giggled, their jars glowing with captured light. "Sarah, you've got it backward. Those brave girls gave me something I'd been missing my whole life." Sarah tilted her head. "What's that?" He looked at her, his voice soft but certain. "A family. Their courage, their love for each other, their dignity, it showed me everything I thought mattered was nothing compared to what they offered." 2 years later, Jonathan and Sarah married in that same garden, now blooming with flowers they'd planted together. Emma and Ella, now 6, walked down the aisle as flower girls, their grace as captivating as it had been that first night. During his wedding speech, Jonathan shared their story, his voice thick with emotion. "2 little girls asked for leftovers and gave me the greatest feast of my life," he said. "Emma and Ella taught me that the most important question isn't what you can get, but what you can give. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. Sometimes those who ask for the least deserve the most. And sometimes, when you think you're helping someone, they're actually saving you." As the celebration swirled around them, with MidnightTales playing softly on a screen in the background, Jonathan reflected on that night at Bella Vista. A simple request had become a banquet of love, laughter, and belonging, riches no money could buy. The twins' eyes, once breaking his heart with their quiet strength, had healed it, showing him that true success lies not in what you accumulate but in what you share, in the life you build with those you love.